All right, guys. So hopefully you tried this on by yourself. And if it was hard, don't worry. I got you. So a lot of people thought, or a lot of people made a bunch of mistakes on this quiz. And that's okay. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm going over it. And that's why it's just a small quiz. So don't worry about it. So first question says, find the area by tiling. By tiling. So what's tiling? So tiling is kind of what we were doing in the beginning of the year. That's when we had shapes and they were kind of in a grid and they had all these, I'm drawing this terribly. They had all the unit squares. So you see it's got like little tiles inside. So we have to we got to tile this shape and we have to find the area. After we tile it, we have to count the unit squares and that's how we find our area. But first we have to tile it. So this is what a lot of students did, and this is wrong. So a lot of students, they multiplied 6 times 4, and they got 24. Now, that is the area of the shape, but the question is asking you to find the area by tiling. So you have to tile this shape to get full credit. So how do you do that? So it's not that bad. So the 6 and 4 are still useful to you. So this 6, notice how the 6 is on this side that's going this way. So this is telling me that going this way, I have 6 unit squares going across. So in one row, I have 6 unit squares. So let me draw one row. And in one row, I have 6 unit squares. So I'm going to do my best to try and draw 6 even unit squares. Now, if they're not perfectly even, that's fine. As long as I see 6 unit squares going across, then I know you know what you're doing. So let's look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's my 6. Now, what does this 4 tell me? This 4 tells me that I have 4 rows. So the 6 told me that in one row, I have 6 unit squares. And the 4 is telling me how many rows total I have. So let me draw in the rest of my rows. Here's a second row. And then there's my third and fourth row. So look, 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. But each row has to have 6 in it. So I'm just gonna draw these lines up, so that I have 4 rows of 6. Oh, not that bad, huh? Look, so now I have 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, and in each row, I have 6 units, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I know you know how to do this. This is all, and then you gotta find the area. So you can either count these or you can just multiply these. So 6 times 4 equals 24. So the area is 24, but you gotta tile it. So 24 square units. So the square unit, it's kind of like when I tell you to measure a line, you say, oh, it's 5 inches, or it's 10 feet, or it's 10 yards. So square units is kind of similar. It's like our unit of measurement. So this is 24 square units. Cool. Next one. We got to find the area of the shaded region. So the drawing's kind of tough, but here, I'll draw this line so it's a little more clear for you. But it's important that you know that these squares are here. The print, it didn't print out too well, but there's a line there, there. So I'm just continuing the grid. So now hopefully you can see you can see the boxes a little bit better now. So you can do 2 things. You can either count up all of these. So I'll just start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So you counted it and you got the area equals 22 square units. So you could have done this another way. You could have noticed that you have a part of a rectangle here. So if I just imagine that there's a line here separating this rectangle from the rest of the shape, I can just apply a formula to count the squares. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the length of this side is 6. And then remember, we're just finding this rectangle, so we gotta make sure we're not looking at that. Then this side is 2. 2. So if we want to find the area of just this, we can do 6 times 2, which is 12. So I'll write that down. So great. We found the area of this piece. Now we got to find the area of the rest. So you can just count the rest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then you got to add them together. You can't forget about this. So this was 12, and then the leftover pieces were 10. So it's just 12 plus 10 equals 22 square units. And it's the same. Perfect. Cool. Next one. So the next one, again, the trick for this one is to just, you got to break this up into pieces into shapes that you recognize. So right now, this is a weird U-looking thing. But you got to notice that you can break this up into one big, thick rectangle, and then you have one skinny rectangle, and then you have one piece left over. So let's break this up into the big and skinny rectangle. So I'm going to draw a line there. So I have my shape, and then I'm going to draw a line here. So I have my other shape. So now I've just broken this up into a big rectangle, a skinny rectangle, and then one little piece left over. So let's find the areas of each of these one at a time. So let's start with the big rectangle. So if you remember, the area of a parallelogram, and remember, a square and a rectangle are both parallelograms. So the area of a parallelogram, area of a square, area of a rectangle, they're all base times height. So here's my base, and here's my height. Now don't get confused. This 6 is referring to this whole side length, this whole one going across. But we don't want all this. We just want the rectangle. We got to ignore this piece. So this 6, don't get confused. Don't get confused by this 6. This 6 is referring to this whole side. But we don't want that whole side. We just want this side. So we use the 4. And then don't get confused by the 5 either, because the 5 is just talking about this length, not this whole side. The 5 is just talking about this length. It stops right there. Stops right there at the tip of my nail right there. But that's not our whole rectangle. So we need the 6 because this comes all the way down. So the base and the height, 6 times 4. Was it? Yeah, 6 times 4, 24. So this fat, thick rectangle has an area of 24. Great. And now let's find the skinny rectangle. So here's our base. And so if this is 1, then this also has to be 1. And again, don't get confused with the 5. The 6 is our height. Because the 5, it's just from here, the tip of my pencil, it's just from here to here. But we want to come all the way down here. So the 6 comes all the way from the top to the bottom. So the 1 is our base and the 6 is our height. So now we do 1 times 6, which is just 6. So the area of this skinny rectangle is just 6. And now we just have to not forget about this little guy. So this is just this is just 1 square. It's just 1 square. So this has an area of 1. This just has an area of 1. So you got to add everything together. So you got 24 plus 6 plus 1. So 24 was this big rectangle. The 6 is coming from this skinny rectangle. And the 1 is our little piece left over. It's like a puzzle. Think of it like a puzzle. Maybe that'll make it more fun for you. And then you add all these up. Area equals 31 square units. Excellent. Next, same thing. You got to break this up into shapes that make your life easier. Break this up into shapes that you recognize. So you could have done two ways. You could have either broken it up like this. Now you have a tall rectangle and a normal rectangle. Or you could have drawn it like this. Either works. Either works. But you have to be careful with your numbers. So here's how we do this. Yeah, I'll do it this way. So you got to multiply a base and height. So if this is your base, what's your height? 9 or 5? Well, it's not 9 because the 9 is this whole side length. But we just want this side, we just want this piece. We don't want the whole side length. We just want this piece. So how long is this piece? Well, it's 5 because, remember, in a rectangle, opposite sides are equal. So this side that we just created, because we made a little cut here, this side is 5. And if this whole thing was 9, so this whole side length is 9. So if this chunk is 5, then what does this chunk have to be? Well, they have to add up to 9. So if this is 5, then this piece is 4. And if this side is 4, then this side is also 4, because opposite sides are equal. So now we have all the numbers we need. So this is our base. This is our height. Let's find the area of this part. So 10 times 5. That dot is just multiplication. 50. And then we have to find the area of this part. And we do 4 times 3. 12. And then you just add these two together. And you get 62 units squared. 62. Amazing. So, don't use the wrong numbers. Think of it like a puzzle. If this is 5, then that means that this much of this other side is also 5. Don't get confused. And if this is 5, then this has to be 4, because this whole side has to add up to 9. Alrighty. So this one's kind of tough, because we didn't do anything like this in class. So this is telling us that the area is 72. This just means units squared. Units squared. Oops. So it is telling us the area. We have to find the value of the missing side of L. So we know that the area equals base times height. Well, we have an area. It gave us the area. So let's start plugging in the let's start substituting the number for the letter. So we know the area is 72. Okay. What's our base? Well, we don't know, because it didn't tell us. We have to figure out the base. So you can write either L or B. I'll write L just because that's what's in the problem. L times, and then our height is 8. So 8 times something is 72. We have to figure out what this something, what this L, what the correct answer is. We have to figure out 8 times what is 72. So there's two ways you can think about this. You can either do 72 divided by 8, or if you know your multiplication tables, you can think to yourself, okay, 8 times what is 72? And if you need to count, then count. So if you wanted to use your hand, it would look like, okay, 8, 16, 24, 32, 40. So I have 5 in this. 48, 56, What's after 56? Wait. 64. And then 72. So what is that? Wait, no, I messed up. 8, 16. Oh, no, I did it right. 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 5, 48, 56, 64, and then 72. So I'm holding up 9 fingers. So 8 times 9 is 72. So L equals 9. So again, for this one, you're just finding the missing piece of the puzzle. It gave you the area. It gave you the height. Now you have to find the missing piece. 8 times what is 72? And it's 9. Awesome. Or you could have just done 72 divided by 8. Whatever works for you. So yeah, missing side length, L. Yeah, L is equal to 9. Perfect. And then this last one, simple. Remember, area of a parallelogram equals base times height. Well, here's my base, and here's my height. Simple. So I just got to multiply them. 10 times 2 equals 20. 20 square units. All right. Hope this made sense. Good luck.